If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
You are all members of the same race, the human race, which started with black women between 300,000. Don't interrupt me, I don't have much time. Now, white folks, you don't like it, but all you are is faded blacks. Every one of you, if you trace your DNA back far enough, country, we spend a lot of money on what we call education. It isn't education, it's indoctrination.
Hello brothers and sisters, I hope you're doing well. Okay, if you had a chance or a choice to live your life exactly as a black person in America, facing the same treatment, the same assumptions, the same risk, will you accept it? No changes, no advantages, no exceptions, just the reality as it is. Okay, this is a question often asked by this white lady for decades, and not a single person volunteers to face what the black people face. So in this video, we are going to explain what Jane Elliott has been emphasizing for years, and the warning is directing to the white people. So listen to these clips, then we are going to have amazing discussion.
The people who are for it, what's their mindset?
They're scared. They're afraid those immigrants are going to come over here and take their jobs. Let me tell you something. You can build a wall 50 feet tall, and smart Hispanics, Latinos, smart Ecuadorians, smart others are going to tunnel under that wall and come up in their friend's house on the other side. You can build walls until hell freezes over. You will not keep that immigration from happening, and you better hope we don't keep that immigration from happening. We need those people. Do you know what will happen to the economy of this country if we take all the people who are brown-skinned immigrants out of this country, if we send them back? Do you know what will happen to our economy? Do you know what will happen to farming in California? Do you know what will happen to the price of your fruit? Do you know how hard it will be to get a good avocado? Do you have any idea what will happen to this country's economy if all those brown-skinned people go back to Mexico? I don't think we do. I don't think people have thought about that, because they are being taught not to think. They are using a language, right now we are using a language that includes words like extremism and ugly language about people who are different from ourselves. People are listening to those words. They aren't listening to the philosophy behind them. They aren't listening to the core principles, which this person has none of.
Several people in this group are very, very angry. Yes. They're angry after an hour of being denied what they consider their right.
This man said yes.
But those very people who are that angry over an hour of very minor discomfort in a place they volunteered to be are the same people who would say they don't understand LA and the anger.
Yes. Your point might be made here by us wearing our collars and treating us really poorly, but then again, you've made a complete generalization, an assumption that those of us who have green collars support or can't empathize with what happened in LA. You've made a complete assumption on what we look like based on our beliefs.
You don't like people making broad generalizations about you and assumptions about you without knowing you? That doesn't make you comfortable to have people making broad generalizations and assumptions about you without knowing you as an individual?
It makes me very uncomfortable.
It makes you very uncomfortable? Anybody else in this room ever had that kind of discomfort on a daily basis? Have you been uncomfortable about their discomfort for the last 30 years of your life? Oh, sure. That's the majority of white people in this country say, I'm uncomfortable about this, but they better not move into my neighborhood. You need to realize that white people do not live in the same reality that people of color do. We think that because we have all these freedoms, everybody else has them too. That isn't the way it is, people. We are living in a society in which white people, how many of you people of color can leave when you get tired of racist behaviors directed toward you? How many of you can leave? Why not? There is no place to go in this country where there isn't racism. How many of you women, when you get tired of sexist behaviors directed toward you, can leave? None of you, because there's no place in this country where there isn't sexism.
As a member of the group that was treated so poorly, I was feeling very frustrated and the bottom line feeling this isn't fair. And I can relate to that because as a female in what is not just a white power structure in this country, but a white male power structure in this country, I've lived that one.
But you haven't lived as a black female.
Absolutely not.
And there is
That's
a
right.
total difference. All you have to do is attach yourself to a significant white male and you'll be okay. But that cannot happen.
In the
to
corporate
person who
boardroom, I can't
the color of
change
her
my
skin.
sex.
You're right. In the corporate boardroom, you can't change your sex or take off the collar.
But you can change your sex, and people do it all the time. I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
We had a chance to talk to her. Here's part of that interview. For people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a third grade teacher in a country school in Riceville, Iowa, and I am here at the NAACP speaking because the day after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by a society that hated him because he was going to change the economic situation in this country, I did an exercise in discrimination with my third grade classroom to let my little third graders, all white, all Christian children, find out how it feels to be something other than white in the United States of America. I split them according to the color of their eyes and treated those who had the wrong color eyes for the day the way we have traditionally treated blacks, Native Americans, Asians, all those Jews, all those who are different in appearance or in religion. And we learned more that day than I wanted to know.
What did that study show you?
Oh, it showed me a lot of things. Number one, it showed me that racism is a learned response. Nobody's born a bigot. You have to teach bigotry, and that's what we do in this country. I found out how it feels to be on the receiving end of racism because I'm blue-eyed, and the brown-eyed children were on the top in that first day. And I found out how it feels to be treated badly by people over whom you have power because of having the wrong color eyes. I found out how it feels to be subjected to unbelievable and unreal discrimination because of a physical characteristic over which I had no control. I thought I knew about racism. I thought I knew about child psychology. I knew nothing. All I knew was what I had learned in school. And what I had learned in school was not education. What I got in school wasn't education. It was indoctrination. I was taught how to be a good American citizen. And in this country, we think that the only Americans are the ones who live in the contiguous 48 states of the United States. Americans are everybody from the very north tip of Canada to the very southern tip of South America. But we, in our arrogance, say that we are the only Americans. If you're really going to keep this America to Americans, we don't dare build a wall on the southern border of the United States, because those people, those brown-skinned people that are going to come across that border are Americans. Now we'd better choose our language or choose our behaviors. Let me tell you something. It wasn't a study and it wasn't an experiment. I don't experiment with children without their knowledge or their permission. It was experiential education. It was giving a child an experience for the purpose of changing their brain. And that's exactly what it does every time I do it.
Now, you conducted the same study, I'm sorry, not study. Exercise with adults.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And is it any different between the children and the adults?
Adults get more violent. I've been hit several times by white males, angry white males. I've had a knife pulled on me. They ran me out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania at midnight one night, 3 carloads of blacks did, to get me out of town because the teachers that I put through the exercise in a very limited way were so angry that they called the superintendent in the afternoon and said, if you don't get that bitch out of town, we're going to kill her. So they got me out of town. First time I've been scared. And the last time I've been scared. Because I found out that day that they could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea. Victor Hugo said, no force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you. But we are all in the same family. We are members of the family of man.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that, please?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made all, everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over, we need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell people that they're racist, and it must have some kind of effect, because most people will say, I'm not racist.
I'm not a racist. Why, some of my best friends are black.
Right.
Yeah, and then you say, name one. Or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that if you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin. Is it all right for you to see me kind of pink? That's okay for me. I don't mind. And I suspect that you don't mind being seen the color you are. You have a right to be what you are. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago, and every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. And as people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. I found that out when I was raising little kids. My husband worked in a supermarket. He was the head of the produce department, and they had lots of oranges that they couldn't sell, so he'd bring them home, and I was feeding my kids orange juice like you never saw in your life. They began to have an orange cast to their skin. I thought they had a liver problem. So I took him to the doctor, and she said, "What are you feeding these kids?" I said, "Well, lots of orange juice." She said, "Stop it if you want them to stop being orange." Now, if you think that skin color isn't anything other than the body's natural reaction to the natural environment, get over it.
So, if all white people are racist, according to you, can they be reprogrammed?
Of course they can. Of course they can. Of
How?
course they can be. It's called education. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duc dus, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. Now, I know you can change them. The second year I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise in my classroom, it was filmed by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They gave me a copy of that film. I showed it to my father. My father was about 59 years old at the time. He's been a farmer all his life. He raised six kids, lost one, raised six. Watched that film as a 59-year-old man. When it was over, he stood up, and with tears in his eyes, he took his red handkerchief out of the back pocket of his overalls, his bib overalls, and said, "I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old." Nobody had dare say to me, "This doesn't work. This is too harsh. This isn't necessary. You can't teach an old dog new tricks," because they're wrong. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach people to give up the myth of race.
Jane Elliott is a former school teacher from the United States. She became known in the year 1968 after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Instead of just talking about racism, she decided to demonstrate it in a way people could experience directly. She created a classroom exercise that would later become one of the most well-known demonstrations of discrimination. Her goal was simple: make people understand racism by putting them in a situation where they could feel it. Elliott divided her students into two groups based on eye color. On the first day, she told the blue-eyed students they were better, smarter, and more capable. The brown-eyed students were told they were less intelligent and had more limitations. Within a short time, behavior changed. The blue-eyed group became more confident and more dominant. The brown-eyed group became quieter and less engaged. Their academic performance dropped. The next day, she reversed the roles. The same pattern happened again. This experiment showed how quickly people adapt to a system of inequality when authority defines who is superior and who is not. It also showed how deep these labels affect behavior and performance. So, as Elliot continued her work with adults, she introduced a direct question. She would ask white audiences, "Will you be willing to be treated the way black people are treated in this society?" Then she would tell them to stand if the answer was yes, and no one could stand. This response has been consistent over the years. It shows that people are aware there's unequal treatment, even if they don't openly discuss it. This is one of Eliot's main points. Awareness exists, but it's often ignored. So Eliot's message often creates strong reactions. Some people agree with her immediately, others become defensive or reject what she says. And the reason is not just disagreement, it is discomfort. Accepting a message means acknowledging that inequality still exists and that some people benefit from it, even if it is unintentionally. So for many, this feels like a threat to their sense of fairness or identity. People tend to resist ideas that challenge their position or make them feel reasonable for larger systems. This reaction is predictable and has been observed in many discussions about race and inequality. So, Jane emphasizes that racism is not only about individuals' behavior, it is also about systems and conditioning. From an early age, people are exposed to messages about who is valued and who is not valued. And these messages come from media, education, history, and everyday interactions. Over time, they shape perception. They influence who is trusted, who is questioned, and who is given opportunities. Because these patterns are repeated, they start to feel normal. Elliott's work focuses on making these patterns visible. Once people see them clearly, it becomes harder to deny their existence. So the main idea Jen emphasizes is straightforward. You cannot claim equality exists if you people are treated differently in practice. You cannot solve a problem if you refuse to fully acknowledge it. And you cannot understand another person's experience if you are not willing to consider what that experience actually involves. Her message is not about assigning individuals blame. It's about recognizing patterns and taking responsibility for addressing them. She focuses on awareness as the starting point to change, and you cannot refuse to listen whatever she says. So this question generals has been asking for years remains the same. Will you accept to be treated the way black people are treated? And now I know if you are listening to this video, many of you already know the answer. The answer reflects a reality that cannot be ignored. And according to Elliott, acknowledging that reality is the first step toward any meaningful change. This lady emphasizes that the unequal treatment black people experience is not exaggerated or imaginary. She reinforces that racism operates through systems, education, policing, employment, not just individual attitudes. A point black people are responding to real conditions, not overreacting. Through her experiments, she shows how quickly people start to believe they are less than when treated that way. A message here is clear. Negative stereotypes are learned and imposed. They are not the damn truths. She stresses that understanding how systems work helps people avoid being controlled by them. Recognize patterns of bias makes it easier to challenge them rather than accept them as normal. And one of the strongest positions is that solving racism is not the responsibility of black people alone. No, no, no. She repeatedly argues that those who benefit from the system, mainly white society, must take responsibility for changing it. And on finishing, she says that real change doesn't come from avoiding uncomfortable conversations. No. It comes from directly acknowledging unequal treatment and addressing it. So, in simple terms, Jane Elliott tells the white people and the black people they should be both involved in ending racism, and he tells the white people if they can't accept to be treated like how the black people have been treated for ages, they should change and stop treating them in that bad way. So, let's subscribe. Let's meet on the next video.